In today's video, I'm going to be listing off the 9 non-conference games that I'm most interested in for 2019. While not all of these matchups are the most competitive games, they're still very interesting matchups. So number 1, and these aren't in any particular order, but number 1 is LSU at Texas. This game will be during week 2, so it will be very likely that both teams will be ranked in the top 15. But besides the fact that it'll be a competitive matchup, the part that excites me is that two big-time programs are playing each other on campus instead of a neutral site. It doesn't get much better than seeing LSU and Texas meet on the football field. Next up at number 2, we have the defending national champions in Clemson hosting Texas A&M. Last year at College Station, A&M gave Clemson their closest game of the year with the Tigers winning 28-26. It will only be the start of Texas A&M's grueling 2019 schedule featuring games at Clemson, at Georgia, and Alabama at home. It will be really intriguing to see a unique non-conference opponent head into Death Valley. Coming in at number 3, we have Notre Dame playing at Georgia. This game will finish up the home-and-home series that started in 2017 with Georgia playing Notre Dame in South Bend. Georgia fans traveled in bunches to Notre Dame Stadium to see Georgia win 20-19. This time, it's Notre Dame heading down south to play at Georgia. And don't forget that last year, both of these teams were ranked in the top 5 of the final CFP ranking. This game is set for week 4, so it could very well set the tone for a playoff trip for the winner of the game. Moving on to number 4, we have a neutral site game between Oregon and Auburn at Cowboy Stadium in Dallas. Gus Malzahn's future as a head coach could really be decided by the outcome of this game, because Gus is on the hot seat more than ever this year. Another thing I'm interested to see if the Oregon and Justin Herbert hype is real. To me, both teams will have a lot of unknowns for the 2019 season, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. For number 5, we move on to Notre Dame at Michigan in Week 9. These teams played pretty much every year up until 2014 when the series was suspended, but they picked it back up last year and the Irish won 24-17. The thing that makes this more exciting is that it is deep into the season during Week 9. I think it would be cool to see a big non-conference matchup this late in the season. At number 6, we have a Week 1 matchup between Miami and Florida at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. While I'm not a big fan of neutral site games, this one is not too bad because it is a matchup between two Florida teams in the state of Florida. It will always pique my interest to see old rivalry games be revived, but if last season's mean anything for this game, the Gators might have their way with Miami. Miami is going through a tough coaching change, and with plenty of players transferring away, it could get ugly when they take on Florida. But it is a rivalry game, so who knows what could happen. For number 7, we have Stanford traveling all the way across the country to Orlando to take on UCF. The number one thing that intrigues me about this matchup is that the reason UCF has not made the playoff is because the non-conference schedule has been lackluster. But UCF gets Stanford, who did have a down year last year, but David Shaw's Stanford team will always be a step up in the non-conference slate. And while the winning streak is over for UCF, I'm sure they would like to get a big win over Stanford in Week 3. With number 8, we have Boise State and Florida State in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm not sure you can even call this game a neutral site game. It's very likely to be overwhelmingly dominated by Florida State fans. But technically, it is a neutral site game. After the horrendous start to last season for the Seminoles, Willie Taggart could be in trouble if they were to lose this game. You never want to underestimate Boise State, and I'm excited to see this game. A lot of props goes to Boise for being able to schedule FSU. And even more props to Florida State for taking the trip to Boise in 2020. I can't wait for that game either. And our last game on the list is Houston at Oklahoma. The biggest transfer of the offseason so far was Jalen Hurts to Oklahoma. This game against Houston will be the first time Jalen Hurts takes the field in an Oklahoma uniform. Seeing Jalen Hurts is exciting enough for me, but it will also be Dana Holgerson's first game at Houston after leaving West Virginia. The last time Houston played Oklahoma, the Cougars knocked off the Sooners 33-23 in Houston. This time, they will head up to Norman and face a tall task playing against Mr. Jalen Hurts and that Lincoln Riley offense.